and welcome back to another video. In this video right here, I'm actually going to be starting on a new little project, I guess. This one's not going to be like the rest of them's been. This one's really and truly not planned out. This is just me. I'll have an idea of something and then I'll make a video on it. So for this video, I want to start trying to see how far I can get with creating a open world game. So for the first one, I'm going to be creating the camera setup, and a lot of people might want to do first person, they might want to do third person, or even top down game, but me, I'm going to do one kind of like you'd see in like GTA 5 or Red Dead Redemption 2 or any of those kind of games. I want to have a camera switch mode to where you can switch it between first person, third person, and more of a fallout view. I don't know what you'd call that, but yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and get into it because this is going to be a pretty lengthy video. But yeah, I'm going to go over to the contents and I'm going to create a new folder, and this one I'm going to call it my game files. Alrighty, and within this one I'm also going to do another one called characters and main. And blueprints. Alright, so now what we need to do now is go over to where the third person is, and I need to copy and paste, or I need to duplicate the third person character, the main one that you use on your templates. Oh, and by the way, this is also, I've done created all the files or whatever, but this is the third person template. Well, obviously you can see it right there, but yeah, this is just a third person template. So go ahead and just duplicate this one, and I'm going to call this one main character BP for blueprint. Alright, and I'm just gonna kind of stick it over there in our blueprint folder, move here, and go back to the blueprints. Alright, so for the first thing that we want to do is you can just open up the blueprint and go to the event graph. It should already be popped up, but for the first thing what we need to do is we need to actually be able to tell the computer what camera is selected. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to do it as numbers, meaning the fallout view will be number 1, the close-up view will be number 2, and then the first person is going to be number 3. But now for this part of it, we actually need to go ahead and add the input into it for what is how we're going to select the cameras. So go to input and go to action mappings and just add one to it. So for this one I'm going to do camera switch. Alrighty, and for this one I'm just going to do the C for camera for the keyboard, and I'm also going to add another one to it, and this one right here is going to be for my gamepad, and I'm going to just hit the gamepad special left button for the camera switch on my controller, and that part of it is done. Alright, so go back over to the blueprint, and I will need to add that to what the input that we just created. I need to add it to it, so I need to do camera switch. Alrighty. Alright, and now go over here to where it says variables, and I need to create a variable, and this is going to stand for the number of the camera that is currently being used. So this one is camera number. Alright, and instead of boolean I need to do a integer because I need to have a whole number for this. So just go ahead and add it to it, and I need to set the camera number. Alright, And now how we're going to do this is if you press the camera switch button, if you press it, it's pretty much just going to increase that number to the next number. So how we're going to do that is just get the camera number. Whatever the camera number is, I need to just add 1 to it. So every time we press that button, all it's going to do is increment it by 1. Alright. But now this does come across a little bit of an issue that we only have 3 cameras options. So if it does not need to go above 3. So what I'm going to do by this is I'm actually going to add a branch node. So do a branch and get the, I'm just going to copy and paste that one and get the camera number, and I'm going to, if it's greater than 3, if it's greater than 3, then I'm going to set the camera number back to 1. Yeah, I think that, yeah, that's right. Okay, so pretty much what we got here is if we press it once, let's say the camera number is 1. If we press it once, it'll get the camera number and it says 1. Well, then I will add 1 to it, so therefore it's 2 now. And then when I will input it to that, so that therefore makes the camera number 2. And then you do it again, let's say it's 3 now, or it's 2, adds 1 to it, makes it 3, and then so on and so on. You kind of get the point now. But so this right here is just pretty much telling it what camera to add to it. So now what we would need to do is I'm gonna actually do a event tick. Alrighty. So I'm also going to do a sequence just in case if I need to add anything else to this event tick. So I'm just going to do a sequence node. Alright. Now for the first one, I would need to do a branch. And this right here is just pretty much, we need to kind of get what camera is selected. So we need to, if the camera number is 1, if the camera number is 2, if the camera number is 3, and so on. So for this one right here, I'm going to do a branch. I'm going to get the camera number, and I would need to do a equal. If the camera number is equal to 1, and also one more thing, I'm going to go ahead and compile this right here. And as you can see, the camera number by default is automatically going to be 0. I'm going to select this up to 1 because I don't really care for dealing with zeros on this kind of stuff. Alrighty, so yeah, that should be right. Yeah. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this, I'm going to copy and paste it 2 times. Alrighty, and okay, so if the camera number is equal to 1, I would need to, we'll draw out the code here in a minute, but if it's not equal to 1, I would need to check to see if it's equal to 2, and if it's not equal to 2, then I would need to check and see if it's equal to 3. So just go ahead and change the input to 2, and then 3. Alrighty. Now for this one right here, what I'm going to do is we're going to actually have to, if it's equal to, number 1 is going to be the fallout view, 2 is going to be the close-up, and then the first person. So for the first and third person, we'll have to actually add a little bit extra code to it, because on the third person, I'm going to actually not use the camera boom on this. I'm actually going to snap it to the character head. That way it's actually like a true first person. But I'm going to do that here in a minute. But for right now, I'm actually going to modify the camera boom a little bit. So if you go to the camera boom, and you can see right here the target on link, that is what we're going to be using. We are going to be adjusting that. So for the number 1, I'm going to do go ahead and just bring the camera boom out, because we need to get parameters from that, so you have to drag it out to the node editor. But I'm going to do a target on length. Just go ahead and set the target on length. I'm going to do distance as, let's say, 500 for now. We can always change it later. Then I'm going to copy and paste that one 2 times. Alrighty. So now what I'm going to do is, well, go ahead and change these to, this is probably going to be, I'll do 200 for now, and then for distance I'm going to do 0. Alrighty. And now for this one right here, this really ain't nothing, it ain't got to be like this per se, because it's going to be snapped to the head, so it's really not going to matter on that. But later on, I'm probably going to add an animation to it, and that's the reason why I got to put this at 0 right now. So I just went ahead and did that. But for now, what we would need to do, I'm going to just go ahead and kind of test this out. And we also need to change the default pawn class to the main character that we created. So just go ahead and select it. Now if you hit C, you can see that the character is changing or whatever. But there's one more thing actually that I need to do, is the boom that we have selected it's in the middle of the body, and I kind of want it up towards the head, so it's more above it than like has the character centered. So that's another thing that I'm going to work on here in just a second. But another thing you can see is that the clipping, and you can still walk around and all that stuff, but the clipping is pretty bad. So that's the reason why I need to snap it to the character itself and not the boom. Go to the viewport, and we're going to go ahead and change the camera boom. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag it straight up to about where the head is at. Alright, and I'm also going to add this. I want 200 to be the default, so that's what I'm going to add that to, is 200. And I'll also change this to 2 as well. Alrighty, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, I actually need to do this before this, so I'm going to just drag and drop these out there, little boys. Alright, now for the third camera, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of put this out there. I'm going to set, I'm going to go to the camera, the camera, and then put it out there. Then I'm going to set world location. Alrighty, and I'm just going to add this into the bottom one for now. And now for the location, I will actually need to get the socket. Now you could technically do something like attach component to component, but I tried doing this earlier, and for some ungodly reason that it made the camera, like if you'd switch to the first person camera and then switch back to the other camera, the camera was offset for some reason. I do not understand why, so I just kind of did this instead. I mean, it works so much better than it, so this is my preferred way. But you might be able to get the other way to work, but I'm not sure. But it works the same way anyways. But get the location. I'm going to use the, now for this, and this is a third one, so it needs to be to the mesh. So I will need to get the mesh character, and then get socket location. And now remember, you don't have to worry about clipping or anything like that on this, because this is on the event tick, so this will update on every frame. So you ain't gotta worry about that anyways. But for the socket name, we will actually need to create that socket. So go to the go to the character where the character mesh is at, and then go down here to mesh and click on that character, and we will need to find the character head right here. Alright, so click on that and then left click on it and then add socket. This is going to be, I'm going to call this in camera socket. Alright, so go back to the blueprint, and for this one right here, I'm just going to add camera socket. Now remember, it has to be worded exactly the same, capital letters and all, or it's not going to work, or it's going to throw an error. So just make sure to do that. You can copy and paste it if you want to, if you can't remember that how you spelled it or whatever. But so that should be good for that one. And I'm also going to do the exact same thing for this top one. So just copy and paste this one. Alrighty. And for the target, it's going to be this one is the mesh. So for the other one, I need to actually do the camera boom, because I would need to put it back on the camera. So I'm just going to do that as the target. And now if you go down here to the camera boom or the follow camera, you go down here to sockets, you can see what socket that it's parented to. So I would just copy and paste this one. And that's for and that socket, even though it's on the follow camera, that socket is for the camera boom. So just go back to distant, and I will need to copy and paste it there. Alrighty. Alright, now I will just go ahead and go into the game and see how it's looking. Okay, make sure to do the follow camera. Alrighty. So just to see kind of how it's looking now. It's not too bad. Alright, so now we need to figure out why it's not switching. Oh, this one right here is not, these ain't hooked up. Alright, so now compile it and go back over to the game and see how it's doing. Hit C to change the camera, and it is changing. But as you can see that it's really bad clipping, and also the body does not rotate with the camera like a true first person should. But as far as the walking goes, it looks decent, but we need to change that. So go over to the mannequin that we have. Now for this one right here, I'm going to actually get on the camera socket, and I need to actually bring it forward. I'm going to bring it closer to the chin, because that's the reason why we're having a clipping issue, is because it's right over the head or right over the neck area, and it don't need to be. And you also don't want to do it in the middle of the head either, because you got to think about it that if it's right there, the camera's going to be looking out here, and the arms, you really ain't going to be able to see the arms. And a true first person, you can kind of see the arms and all that. So that's the reason why you want to do it closer to the chin area. But that should be about right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and save it. Alright, and then see if that... Yeah, you kind of see that there ain't much clipping. There's a little bit of clipping, which you can adjust it the way you want to. But for now, that'll do for now. But it still does not rotate or anything like that. So go back to the blueprint, And the reason for this is you're just controlling the camera. You're not controlling the character or anything like that. So if you go over to where the camera is and you, let's see what it's called. Yes, use pawn control rotation. That will need to be selected when you're on the third person perspective of it. So I'm just going to bring it off of this right here. And I'll also need to have the camera too. So just go ahead and pull that out there. But control, use control. Yeah, use pawn control rotation. I would need to set that. And so just go ahead and set it to this one right here. And I would need to use pawn control rotation to make sure that's selected. And then drag and drop that to this one. Alrighty. And now I will also need to do the exact same thing for this and up here. But for this one, I need to unselect it. Whenever you go back to the third person, the third person, you need to unselect it. And for the follow camera, just put it in there. And there's also one more that you need to do also, and it's not for any of these, but it's actually for the whole character itself. Now this one right here just allows you to kind of control the camera a little bit better. But for this one, it actually moves the entire character. So what you need to do for this one is use control rotation yall. Alrighty. So yeah, that actually moves the character with the camera. So I would need to just, now that in itself, so you don't have to pull it out there. So use controller rotation yall. Well, set use controller rotation yall. Alrighty, and then just plug it in and copy and paste that in and plug it in. Now for this end stays unchecked, but this end you have to check it. Alright, so I'm going to take this right here and just go ahead and plug it back up, and same thing with this one. Alright, and now I'm just going to check it a little bit more. And for this one, so you can actually see that the character is rotating with the camera. And if you zoom out, you can see that it's not checked anymore like that. Zoom in, and so forth. And now one more thing for the last thing that I'm going to do on this video is, it's kind of dull just looking at it, having it clip from one to the other. So I'm going to kind of do like a little bit of an animation. So what I'm going to do for this then is I'm actually going to go back to the camera, well, not the camera, the blueprint, and I'm going to actually add it. Instead of just clipping, I'm going to just clip into 500. I'm actually going to add 10 each frame until it hits 500. So for this then, I'm going to just leave those right here. I'm going to do a branch right after these. Let's do a branch node. Alrighty. So I would need to get, so I need to get the target arm length. So if it's less than 500, well actually the first one is going to be less. Yeah, the first one, you got to think, it's going from this one to this one. So it's going to be less than 500. So you need to check and see if it's 500, or if it's less than 500 and you need to increment 10. So I need to do this right here, and if it's less than 500. So if it's less than 500, I will need to add 500 to, or add 10 to it. You gotta think, remember, it's every frame, so it ain't gonna take very long to get to 500 when it's adding 10 to every frame. So, and 10 is just, I mean, that's just a number that I like best when working with this kind of stuff. So, I would need to add just go ahead and add 10 to it. Alrighty. And for this one right here, I'm going to now for the bottom one right there, actually, yeah, I do need to do that. I was thinking I didn't need to because it's not selected right here, but this is the animation, so I'm not worried about any of those. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do another branch node right there. Now for this one right here, remember that this one is going to be greater than 200 anyways because it's coming from this one, and this one should be 500. So this one right here is going to be, if it's greater, so if it's greater, I would need to, if the target on length is greater than 200, I will need to subtract this one. Well, we need to subtract the target on length. I would need to subtract 10 from it. And remember that this is it only executes this if it's true. If it's false, it won't do anything but go back to the very beginning. So for this then, I can actually copy and paste all of these. And I can only copy and paste these because we automatically know that it's going to be less than this one, same as this. So you can just copy and paste all of those that you got from that one. And this one's going to be 0. I'm actually not going to do 0. I'm actually going to do, I'll do 20 only for the fact that, remember that this is going to be an animation, so when the camera is pulled back from the head, there's going to be a little bit of a clipping. So you want the camera to automatically clip to the back of the head so there's no clipping involved, and then continue on with the rotation. So I'm just going to do 20 right there. And if there's still clipping in it, I can change it, or if it's too much, I can also come back and change it, so I ain't too worried about that. But just plug that into there, and plug this one into there. And for that one, that should be okay like that. Alright, so now I'm just going to go ahead and go back to this and plug these in where they need to be. Alright, so now I'm going to just select that and go ahead and test it out. So if it's clipped, and obviously right here it's just automatically going to clip to the head. I mean there's no getting out of that one. I mean there is, you can tweak this a little bit, and I'll be honest with you that I'm probably going to tweak this around off camera. Just go ahead and give you a heads up because I ain't got much time on these videos. But you can see that there's not really no clipping involved on the head either, so that's good. Alright, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I mean, there might be a little bit of clipping issues and stuff like that, But like I said, you can go off camera and adjust it the way you want to. Cause I know I'm going to probably. But honestly, this looks pretty. I mean, it doesn't look too bad. A little bit of a clipping issue with the thumb right there. You can adjust that how you like it though. But the camera rotates, or the character rotates, and all that good stuff. Let's see. Yeah, now I think that is pretty much all that I'm going to do for this video right here. And you can do a lot more stuff, such as like the animation and stuff like that. You can add like camera shake to it to make it look like the character's actually running with a camera and stuff like that. I mean, there's endless ways you can improve this, and I might do so later on. And I might do a video on the camera shake, because I kind of like that idea to add the camera shake to the third person portion of it. So if you want me to do a video on that, just leave a comment down below. But yeah, for the most part, that is pretty much it on this video. So I'm going to go ahead and end it right here. So I will see y'all on the next video.